Hello everyone, Steve Wiss here, joined by Kevin Harper, and All Sports Betting Podcast is back covering the ICC Champions Trophy after an unexpected near week-long absence. And the reason for that is I was on my sick bed with a shoulder injury which has been giving me considerable pain, sadly. So apologies for no podcasts in the last few days, but we're back to cover the meat of the tournament, and I'm sure you're looking forward to that, Kev. How are you doing?
Certainly am, Steve. Yeah, not doing too bad, thanks. Been a decent few days in the Champions Trophy, and with 4 knockout games to come, should be a decent finish too.
Yeah, there's not official quarterfinals in this Champions Trophy, but there might as well be one in Cardiff on Monday, where winner takes it all. Sri Lanka against Pakistan. The weather looks like it's going to be set fine. And effectively a quarter-final, really interesting clash. And I'm sure both, if you'd offered them this at the start of the tournament, would have pretty much taken it, wouldn't they?
Well, they'd have certainly taken it if you'd offered it to them after their first matches. That is for sure. Both got pretty well beaten up in their first games, didn't they? And to their to everyone's surprise, really, both rebounded in their second game. Sri Lanka beat India and beat them well. Beat them genuinely. There was no fluke involved. Pakistan beat South Africa. I think they beat them genuinely as well. But there's always in that doubt in everyone's mind, isn't there, that would they have beaten them if the rain hadn't come? They were well ahead at the time. They were and they were right to be ahead. They played a brilliant match to that point. But this is Pakistan. They can lose from anyone in position. So it would have been interesting to see if that game had played to its full conclusion. There's been a lot of talk about the weather in this tournament, but for mine, it's just made it an even closer tournament, and in many ways a much better tournament. We've had 3 knockout games in these last round of group games. The first 2 of them have largely been one-sided, but they've been good games anyway. And I'm sure this one will be too. And thankfully, the weather's cleared up now. And the last 4 games of this competition, we don't even need to worry about it, I don't think.
Yeah, I look at that last game for Pakistan, and I don't think it surprised anyone, did it? Because they're capable of being so good and so bad. But I think a good performance was kind of expected, really. And, they had what a performance with the ball they delivered, certainly in the first 30, 35 overs of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can be magnificent with the ball, can't they? Or they can be awful, and we've seen both sides of it so far in this competition. The one concern would be, yes, they were very good with the ball, but South Africa contributed an awful lot to their own downfall, and we saw that again against India on Sunday. South Africa batted terribly in that game, and that kind of just takes the gloss off of that Pakistan bowling performance. But hey, that Hassan Ali spell was one of the best spells you're going to see in Champions Trophy history, so credit to them.
I don't think anyone saw Sri Lanka beating India. I think the presumption was India would have a pretty comfortable success there. So to beat them so convincingly, I think was really great news for Sri Lankan cricket. And in that respect, is it a surprise to see them as an outright underdog in this game, considering who they've just beaten?
Yeah, I'm surprised because there isn't, as I said right at the start, there is no fluke or anything involved with that. They beat them fair and square. There was no rain involved. There was no condition bias. There was no toss bias. There was no nothing. They genuinely beat India. They bowled well. They restricted India by and large. India got away from them in the last 10 overs, as is their way, when the likes of Yuvraj Singh, MS Dhoni, and a couple of others got going. But for the first 40 overs, India never really got going, and that was all credit to Sri Lanka's bowlers. And then with the bat, well, they were never ever in any danger, even though they didn't get off to a great start, as Dikwela was out pretty early on. But this is a different side when Angelo Matthews is in it. He brings a experience in the field and a calmness in the field, and the assurance that he has with the bat is just different class. His innings to win the game against India was no surprise. He's been doing that for a long time, and he's got these young players batting well around him, the likes of Kusal Mendis, Gunaratne, who came in and smoked it to all parts. And I am surprised that they're the outsiders in this game. I don't have them as the outsiders. I have them as favourites, not just because they're more reliable than Pakistan, but also on what we've seen in this tournament so far.
Yeah, that's your first pick for the game. Sri Lanka to beat Pakistan. 2.10 you can get odds there. Pretty decent price, really, when you consider the last game. In terms of matchups, though, they are going to be tested by the Pakistan bowling lineup, aren't they?
They will be, but no more so, or you wouldn't think no more so than they should have been tested by South Africa and India. I think largely the wicket here at Cardiff is going to lessen out Pakistan's effectiveness. There's not going to be no reverse swing or anything like they found up at Edgbaston, that's for sure. The square here is usually pretty good. They're playing on a fresh wicket here. I imagine to keep another wicket fresh for Wednesday's semi-final. Of course, the winner of this game will play England here on Wednesday. So yeah, they'll be tested, but that's their strength, isn't it? Sri Lanka, their strength's very much their batting. It'll be interesting to see how the openers go. They both like to wallop it square at a wicket. Obviously, they're the bigger boundaries here at Cardiff. You want to be hitting straight down the ground wherever possible, as England showed when they played New Zealand here. But yeah, that'll be interesting. The two strengths match up against each other, as do the two weaknesses. So the one that performs best, probably with their weakness, will win the game.
Now you've got a second selection for the game, which at the time of recording this podcast is a pretty big price. A sailor Gunaratne to top score for Sri Lanka at 30-1. That's Paddy Power or Betfair Sportsbook. And this is a very big price considering Sri Lanka's team news, isn't it?
Absolutely. Obviously, Pereira's out. He went lame in the last game. In fact, you and him could form an injured society. His hamstring's gone and your shoulder. You could put a decent body together using the parts that are working there, Steve. So he's out. Upal Taranga's obviously out with suspension after taking a week and a month to bowl his overs in the first game, which leaves a spot in the middle order, really. I was actually a little bit surprised that Pereira came in when he did in the last game, but fair play to them. They wanted to keep a left-right combination and it worked brilliantly. Took all of India's spin options out of play, and that was very much a good game plan. Also kept the short boundary in sight as well, but there is no short boundary square of the wicket here in Cardiff, so I don't see that being an issue. I don't know where Gunaratne is going to bat. He's probably going to bat 5 or 6. It remains to be seen who's going to bat sort of 4, if Matthews will bat 4 or if he'll send someone in as a kind of protection. But he'll bat 4, 5 or 6, somewhere along those lines. And look, he was hitting the ball really well against India, wasn't he? You don't get down on one knee and sweep Bumrah for 6 if you're not hitting the ball particularly well. He was hitting it well. If he'd been there longer, he'd have probably gone and got 60 or 70. If he played the amount of balls at the crease that Kusal Pereira got, then he would have gone very, very close to top scoring. He's likely to get that many balls in this game. And, he can top score. We've just seen David Miller top score against Pakistan from the middle order. And I fancy Gunaratne will do so as well. This Paddy Power price is absolutely ridiculous. This is no all-rounder or anything, or lower order batsman that we're backing here. This is a genuine top order batsman who has ODI centuries against South Africa to his name. He can play cricket, this kid. I have absolutely no idea where this price has come from, but I really, really hope I'm collecting on it.
Yeah, it's a big price, and to be fair, quite a few listeners in the morning, maybe the odds will have gone. But I mean, would you still back him at sort of a double figure price, which is across the board? Yeah,
I mean, I took sort of Miller to top scorer at 11-1 against this Pakistan side, and I think any sort of price around there would probably be fair. He's going to play the same role as Miller. If he's in early, he'll play the knock it around and rebuild the innings role, and if he's not in early, he'll give it a bit of slap and tickle. So that's the kind of role that that I would expect him to play. And anything around double figures is a good price. 8-1 or bigger, anything like that.
And before we sign off, any thoughts about the top Pakistan batting lineup here? Is a case for a couple?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? The new opener who carted South Africa to all parts. Can he do that again? Possibly, possibly not. Azhar Ali's got a really good record against Sri Lanka, as you would expect. He's a class act. I've made the case for Babar Azam in the past. But this is knockout cricket, isn't it? And in knockout cricket, you generally get your experienced heads to stand up to the party. So maybe it's time for Shoaib Malik or Mohammad Hafiz to come good.
Yeah, I was thinking potentially Shoaib Malik as well, actually. Although the new opener, Fakhar Zaman, he caught my eye a little bit. But, he looks like he's going to play quite a lot of shots, so could literally get out at any time. But I wouldn't be surprised if he got a few on the board. Okay, thanks very much for that, Kev. We're going to be back for the semi-finals in midweek and then the final weekend. From this podcast, I'll say goodbye, everyone.
Cheerio all.